What's going on, guys? Sharpshot here. Hope you guys are having a great day so far. So for today's video, we're going to be settling the age-old debate of whether Sprint Burst or Dead Hard is the better perk. So basically, I'm going to be going over 3 pros and cons for each perk, and then at the end of the video, I'm going to be giving my pick on what perk I think is better. So without further ado, let's get right into the video. So before I go over the pros and cons for each perk, I just want to explain to you guys what each perk actually does. Using Sprint Burst, you run at a speed of 150% of your normal running speed for 3 seconds, and each tier of the perk has a shorter exhausted status effect, going from 60 all the way down to 40 at tier 3. On the other hand, Dead Hard is a little bit more complicated. First off, you have to be injured to use Dead Hard, and when you click the activate button, you quickly dash forward, and during that dash you can't take damage, and the status effect works the same way as Sprint Burst, going from 60 all the way down to 40. Another quick thing to note is that for these exhaustion perks, you can't recover from exhaustion while you're running around the map. You have to be walking or doing a gen or something, but while you're running, you can't recover from exhaustion. So I'm going to be talking about Sprint Burst first, and the biggest pro that Sprint Burst has is that obviously it gives you a huge lead in the beginning of a chase. As you can see in this clip here, if you're just working on a gen and you have Sprint Burst and then you see the killer come by, you can quickly use Sprint Burst and dash super far out, and you'll have a huge head start on your loop. And in this clip, I actually even managed to get an unhook in before the chase even started. But this pro also comes with the obvious con that it is just a head start, so a smart killer will know that after you use Sprint Burst, you don't have any other tricks up your sleeve, and the chase is just what it is, and you won't have a sneaky Dead Hard that the killer won't be expecting. So in that sense, the chase might get shortened as compared to Dead Hard, where the element of surprise really isn't there. The second pro that Sprint Burst has is that you can use it outside of a chase. There are so many different situations where Sprint Burst is really useful. You can use it to run around the map super quickly, running from gen to gen. You can use it in the beginning of the game to go quickly to a gen. As you can see in this clip, you can even use it to quickly unhook someone while the killer is running at you. There are so many different ways you can use it, and it's just such a versatile perk. The third pro that Sprint Burst has is that it's super easy to learn. There's no learning curve whatsoever using Sprint Burst, because it's literally just sprinting and waiting for your exhaustion to be over, and it's a really good beginner friendly perk that is useful all throughout the ranks. The biggest con that actually comes with Sprint Burst is that you usually have to walk everywhere to preserve Sprint Burst for an actual useful time. If you're just using it aimlessly, sometimes you'll get caught in a chase where you don't even have Sprint Burst, so you have no advantage whatsoever. So it gets pretty annoying having to walk to a gen or walk somewhere just to save Sprint Burst. Other than that, this is overall a super good perk, and we can now move on to Dead Hard. The first pro that comes to mind when using Dead Hard is that if it's used correctly, it can prolong a chase and even make the killer give up. Dead Hard is usually used as a last attempt to save yourself from getting downed, and if the chase has been going on for a super long time and you use Dead Hard and get a quick pallet on him, sometimes the killer will just straight up give up, so it could even save you from a chase entirely. While having Dead Hard, I kind of like to think of it as having 3 hits, because you have the first hit that gets you injured, and then before you get your second hit to get knocked down, you actually get to use Dead Hard, so it's kind of like an extra life, so it's a super useful perk in a chase. Going along with this, early on in the game, if you haven't used Dead Hard yet, it's a super good element of surprise that can catch the killer off guard. The element of surprise is one of the best things you can have as a survivor in DBD, and right when the killer thinks he has you and you use Dead Hard, it's pretty frustrating as a killer, and it can definitely give you the edge. As I mentioned before, Dead Hard is actually a pretty complicated perk, which means it has a steeper learning curve. So if I was a beginner, I would probably recommend using Sprint Burst rather than Dead Hard. Another con that Dead Hard has is that it's pretty situational, in the sense that you can only use it in a chase and you have to be injured to use it. You wouldn't really use Dead Hard to dash forward to a gen. That seems kind of useless, because the only reason you'd really use Dead Hard is to dash forward from the killer. Finally, Dead Hard can easily be baited by a good killer. They can pretend like they're about to hit you, so they'll force you to use Dead Hard and then just knock you 2 seconds later, making your dead hard completely useless. With all that being said, I personally think that dead hard, although it is harder to use, it's way more fun to use and it's way more satisfying when you pull off a dead hard. Like in this clip, if you dash forward and you hear them miss the hit, or even better, you get a pallet stun on them, it's way more satisfying than just sprinting forward and having a head start in a chase. If you haven't made your own conclusion on whether sprint burst or dead hard is better for your game with these pros and cons, I'm going to give you my pick on what I think is better. Personally, I think the winner is dead hard. I think this is the better perk all around, mainly because of the element of surprise. In a chase, I think it's much more useful in sprint burst in the sense that you have the element of surprise up your sleeve, whereas sprint burst, you just gave up all of your tricks by just sprinting forward and getting a head start. You get to run around the map without having to walk around to preserve sprint burst, so you generally move much quicker and more freely around the map. As I just mentioned, it's way funner to use than sprint burst in my opinion. So with that being said, let me know in the comments below what you think is better, sprint burst or dead hard. I'd love to hear your guys' insight, and also let me know if you want me to do more perk comparisons like this and what kind of perks you would like to see compared next. So yeah guys, that's been the video. Thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure to leave a like and subscribe if you're new. This has been Sharpshot, and I will see you guys in the next video.